Hello, world. Welcome to episode 40 of the Podcast Monitor. Last time we updated the feeds.json with platform links and Twitter handles. And so now we're going to do this final task for the messaging to basically add that stuff into the code. Specifically, we need to add it into the metadata here that we're reading in, right? So we're reading in the feed stuff. So we'll add it into the metadata here. And then we'll have to update the kind of tests and stuff around that. So let's get started. I'm going to first run test suite all, right? Everything passes. And now I'm actually going to do it in here as opposed to, I'm obviously going to want to update this. Well, I guess actually I could update this test first and then update that. So basically, right, this is the data that we have here. And let's look at the kind of the testing we have. We test that that it copies this data that's given to it. So if we take this and we create a feed metadata and then we edit it, normally a dictionary that's edited would propagate through, but because we do a copy inside of the constructor here, this is it retains the same name. It doesn't change it to this new name. We test exception for no name, no URL, no type, and then bad URL and bad type. There's no such thing as a bad name, right? And when we look at that, what it corresponds with is this setting it, right? So if we were to not pass in, if we were to pass in a dictionary that didn't have a name, right, we would get a key error here. And that is what we're specifically checking here. We get a key error that's raised. We get a type error or value error, and that's based off of these that we actually raise ourselves. This must be a string, and it must contain, start with this, and the type must be one of these two. So it must also be a string, but it must specifically be these two. So we're going to do something similar with this data here. And so first it makes sense to say, to do these. So we'll do, well, so I guess the first thing we'll want to do is we'll want to update this information here. And so let's add this on a new line there. I think that's fine. And we'll adjust this. So these are the original ones. I'll just keep on one line. I'm going to change these to single quotes. Make that a single quote. And then platform links will be a dictionary inside of the dictionary. Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, let's just do that. We'll do it like this, and I'll put that there. Actually, I'll just do that. Okay, and so now we'll get rid of these extra lines that we added. So let's run this. It should still pass. Tests feed metadata. Okay, because we just added this information in. Now what we want to say is we want to basically add key errors here. Let's see, platform link. Yeah, I guess we can just keep the same. Does everything here match? Yeah, that'll match us. So we'll just keep the same here. So we have Twitter handle and platform links. So this one will be Twitter handle. This one will be platform links. deleting both of those, and let's update the names on no platform links on no Twitter handle. So if we delete those, we should get key errors, and we won't. So now we get those two as failures. I guess before that, what I'm going to do, let me commit this real quick. So I'll say git commit updated feed metadata ut data with links and handles. Okay, now we'll just add that back, and we'll say git commit and added key error UTs, and we'll say broken. Okay. So now we can add, similar to these, we'll do a def test exception on bad Twitter handle. And, well, yeah, we'll just start with that one. Okay, and so for this, what do we want for, so the Twitter handle is a string, and should have this @ sign in front of it. Unless, of course, the other thing to consider, right, is not all of the Twitter handles exist. Some of them are null. Which I believe when read in will be a none. So let's come over here for a second. I'm going to do this, and I need to load, and then I'm going to say print data 0 real quick. Make sure this works. Python prototype. Okay, yeah, so see we have here the platform links and the handle. And so now I want, I think the last one, yeah, the last one has it. So let's do -1. And here we get, yes, we do get a none here, which is what I was expecting. And we're going to reset the prototype code and close that out. Okay, so the other option, right, so basically it should be of this form unless it's none. And so basically we need to do this sort of thing. So we're going to say self.dMetadata Twitter handle is equal to, so the key, so it has to, so the key error has to be there, and that's what we're doing here. So we're not going to ever delete it, but we can update it, and that's going to be like a value error and stuff. So, well, but so I guess that's the thing what we're testing here is we're not actually testing if none is okay or not. We're specifically just testing, well, if something bad is given, it does raise an error. And we're not necessarily testing any of like all the good outcomes, right? Like, so we don't need to test that it can be none. We just need to test that it can't be, for example, a number, right? So here we'll say 5, self.verify exception raised, type error. And then we'll do a string and we'll say does not start with @ and this will raise a value error. And yeah, so I don't know that we need to, do we need to test that it's none, right? So I'm going to say no, because what this is specifically just testing is that the exceptions are thrown for things. If we're actually looking at like, oh, what we can do, well, this is what actually kind of defines that, right? Because remember, these are, if you remember all the way back from like whatever it was, episode 5 maybe, these aren't, right, this isn't like kind of the normal code like all this other code that we have. These VDICs are different. They're just more kind of like an extension of a dictionary. So we'll do git commit am added ut for bad Twitter handle values. Okay, and then we'll want to do one more test. We'll say def test exception on bad platform links. Should I spell those all the same? And so for this one, I also actually want to do a deep copy of this one. So I'm just going to remember to do that. And then so platform links, must be a dictionary. So not a dictionary. And that'll raise a type error. I think actually, did we do nested for, we had episode, and then we had feed. Yeah, and so then we call a deep validate on all of those, but that's not the same. Were those the only ones? Twitter. I guess I could just look at the diagram. So we have the metadata, we have the episode, and we have the feed, which isn't like a pure one. Okay, so we don't actually check, because we don't actually have like nested things inside. So this is going to be the first one there. But I'm not going to create, I could create a separate one and then do something similar to what you had with the feed itself, right? Where we then call a validate. So if we had another one, then we could call the validate on that. But those are, it's just going to be strings. It's a very simple dictionary of strings. So now a dictionary throws that error. If we see self.d metadata platform links, and it is a dictionary. This is also going to throw a type error. Actually, let's do, I'll say Apple. And then value errors. Now, that it could be empty, but that's fine. But if it's not empty, then each value has to do something like this. And then we'll say we're going to do some type errors. So we'll say this here. If key, and then I'm going take, at least going to start with that. We'll say podcasts.com ID. That's fine. Yeah, that'll be fine. And so if we have something like this, we're going to raise a value error because the key needs to be either Apple or Spotify. And if we add other things, then we can update it. But basically, the platform links kind of like need to be something like that, we'll say. And then we'll come in here and we'll do this and we'll say Apple. And we will remove that. Similar to, well, I guess actually the URL was just this. We'll do the same thing actually. We'll just copy this. And that'll also raise a value error. And I think that's fine. So let's this extra line, save it. And we'll say git commit and added UT for bad platform values. And then the last thing I want is to do test copies data. And I'm going to do another, I'm just going to make another one. I'm going to say test deep copies data self. And we're going to have this here. And this will be platform links. And then we'll say Apple. And we will do other, and then we're going to assert equals. And in this case, I mean, we should just be able to do the platform. Well, actually, I guess we'll do this. Apple, and this will be the value there. And I'm going to move this to this line down here. Okay. Let's run this before we commit anything. Nope, I did not want to do that. I wanted to run this. Okay, so now we have 5 failures. And let's just check on this last one. Deep copies. Well, it should be, it's probably going to be a key error, right? Or no, it actually... Metadata. Oh, because the metadata actually copies everything. So, okay, so it did. So the data is in there. We're not doing any validation on it. But we aren't doing a deep copy. So as you can see here, it actually does change. The value here does get changed to this because we're simply doing a copy of the data. So we're going to have to update that. And so let's go git commit and added UT to verify copy is deep. links dict cannot be changed. And that should be get not got. Okay. All right. So now we have those 5 failed tests, and we basically got to get everything to pass. So if we just run them, we can start with the these here. So we want to basically have a key error if those aren't. So we will come in here and we'll say S Twitter handle equals self Twitter handle, and we'll and that so that'll fix one of them. And then we'll say D podcast links equals self dot, or no, is it platforms? Oh, it is links, okay. But it's platform links. Okay. And that should fix the other one. And so we'll just do git commit am. Let me look at the diff real quick. Okay. And so we'll do git commit am fixed key error UTs. And now we can work on the value errors and stuff. So if we're looking at the Twitter handle, basically it must be a string and it must start with an @ sign. So if we come in here, we'll say if type of S Twitter handle not equal to, so the first one is on line 22, or well, line 22, line 70. So on line 70 here, we have this type error. So we'll say if not that, raise type error. I'm just copying the one above it. Twitter handle is and we didn't use f strings before, but we can now. Now that we, so here we can just do type s Twitter handle is not equal to string. We'll say raise Twitter handle is blank. Should this goes outside. Should be class str. Okay, and that should. So we were on line 70. Now we're on line 73, which is the @ sign one. And so if basically if the first, so if s Twitter handle 0, so if the very first character is not the @ sign, then we'll raise a value error. That'll be Twitter handle should start with @. Alright, so we'll say git commit am fixed Twitter handle, what were we calling it? Log one line -5. Git commit am fixed ut fixed Twitter handle values UT. Alright, and now we need to do the platform links. And so for this one, we have we fail on line 77. So first of all, it must be a dictionary. So we'll say if, I'll copy this here, make that dictionary, use this value, and then we'll copy this as well. We'll say that, should be that. Okay, and that should fix that one. So now we're on line 80, and we need to make sure that the value here, so that was a type error, yeah. So we have another type error if the type of each of these is not. So we want to say here, we want to say all type link is equal to, if not, and this is something I think, well here, I'll just code it first and then I'll look at the way I did it in the other one. So it will say if not, all, the link type is string for link in, say for link in the platforms items. And then we can each value in platform links, or platform links should be okay. Let's run this. So we were on line 80, and now we moved to 83. All right. And let's just check real quick if we look at the feed. Yeah, so we did the same thing. If not, all type is equal to episode for the episode raise each element in, so actually that, so here we don't need this to be an F string, each element in platform links. I'm going to use should because I use should in all these other ones. Should be, and I didn't use a, so that's fine. Okay. Verify 83. Cool. And also on these other ones, it looks like I didn't mind them being super long. And here I kind of separated them out. So, do I want to do this? I mean, I don't know that either one is worse in my opinion, but I know people disagree with that often. All right, so now we need value errors. So we need to raise a value error if the key is not. So it's going to be similar to this. So we'll say if not all platform in Apple, Spotify for platform, don't need link in D. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just hit platform in D platform links. Raise value error, and we'll say each key in platform links should be either Apple or Spotify. Okay. All right, so here we say we're basically now going through the keys in each, and for each one we're saying it should be either Apple or Spotify, and then if all of them are not this, so basically there can only be 2 keys, but it doesn't matter. We don't care if we don't have any of them. We only care that anything we do have are those. So if we run this, we were on line 83. Now we're on line 86 on the last value error. And that is this same URL check that we were also doing up here. So basically we're going to say if not all type, or no, if not all HTTPS in link for, don't care about the key link in, so just, if you're, depends on how familiar you are with Python, what items does. So normally if we just loop over the dictionary, we're looping over the keys. If we do .items, we get the key and the value, but in this case we don't care about the key, we only care about the value. So we can put an underscore here as a placeholder, but we're not using it. So it's just not like an empty variable that we're not using. And then we'll say here, I'll add this, but this will be a value error. And we'll say each element in platform links should be a valid HTTPS link. Right, and some of these checks we could, we could say, we could kind of pull this out. And if we wanted to do kind of a more, especially if we wanted to do like a more in-depth sort of thing, we could say like, oh, is valid HTTPS link, have this check in there, and then we can always add other checks, and then that way we would, and same thing with, I guess that's really the main one, even though we could kind of abstract something here, but that way you could use it kind of in other places, and then if we want to make updates. But for right now, it's very simple, and we just have that. So we'll say git commit am fixed value UT for platform links. All right, so now we just have this last one, which is the deep copy. And for this one, right, essentially what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to consider so let's do this. So we'll copy everything over, right? So we have a straight copy, but then the so it's copying over just everything that's in this dictionary. But then platform links, we actually want to do a different copy for, and so we'll say if platform links in the data, which it should always be because we're validating it down here, but I don't want to do a separate sort of validation up here. And the type, well, actually I guess we could just say for key value in D data So I could copy everything, right? I could copy everything, and then I could just, I guess, I'm going to replace it. I'm going to do my own custom copy. I'm going to say for key value in D data, right? If type of value is it's either a list or a dictionary. In this case, we only care about dictionary. Then we'll say, right, because I think you can do it with a list too. Let's check this real quick. So we have D equals A1, and we have L equals 1, 2, and I need to make this bracket. And we'll say D dot copy, L dot copy. Right. So, yeah. So because both of those are mutable, and so these are these two are mutables. So instead, then we'll say self. So we'll do self dot D data equals that. Self dot D data key equals value dot copy. Otherwise, self dot D data key equals value. So now instead of just doing a straight copy, we're doing, because we have nested stuff, we're manually copying everything. But if that thing is the list or dictionary, then we're copying that list or dictionary, and that should. Oh, interesting. Too many values to unpack. And this is what I was saying with the items, right? Because because we're using the value so much, we could grab the value, but each time, but it's just easier to do that. And now all the tests do pass. All right, so we'll say git commit am impold deep copy for nested. Actually, hold on. Let me go git reset head 1. And I'm going to go dict, and I'm going to say fixed. All right, since I had that broken there, so now if we look at it, right, here we added the key errors for the so this is where we start adding the UTs, and then add a UT, and then fixed, and everything is fixed. Okay, and so the other thing we need to do is we need to go Python test suite all. And so now we have 24 errors, and that is because anywhere we're using metadata now runs the validation, and it doesn't have this information here. So if we need to go, so that's message factory. We have the filter. We shouldn't need to update any code. We should basically just need to update the data in this. So we have the filter, feed parser, feed. Okay, so it looks like feed and filter. So we'll come, so feed here, data, here we have metadata, and so we'll do Twitter handle @fake, and we'll do platform links, and this will be Apple HTTPS podcast one. And let's get rid of that and close this. Let me just look at the diff of that real quick. Yeah. Okay. So that'll be fine there. We did the metadata. Feed parser needs an update to metadata. Well, this one uses an actual one, so I'm going to come back to this in a second. Filter has actual ones in it. Message factory, this has nothing, this has nothing, this has nothing. Okay, so let's come up here, Lebetard and Friends Network. So why don't we just actually come over, we'll just use the real ones. So we'll do feeds, come up here, copy this. And actually, we're not even going to make an update to it because it looks like we did the same thing. We just kind of copied it straight up. And so I'm going to move this over to line up like that. All right, and then same thing here. Move these over. And add that. And then mystery crate is this one. Oh, this is interesting. We might have to make an update there for the validation. Because I think we have to check if it's not none, essentially. Right, the other one kind of accomplishes that by doing the for loop. This one does not, so I think we'll have to make an update there. But let's first update this. So this is going to actually be none. It's the only real change you're going to make. And add that there. Okay, and then the last one is the message factory. This one we used that, so we will just copy this, add a comma, add this in. Okay, so now let's run it, and what I expect is that we'll still get some test failures here. So quit, run. So we get 11 test failures, and it should be a string. So we need to come back into here, into the feed metadata. And we only want to do these checks if it exists. So we want to say if S Twitter handle, right? So it has to exist as something, which it does here, but this is going to be none. And so then if it is something, then we can run those checks on it. Now we run it, and all our tests pass. Great. So if we look here, we have all these updates to the feed, parser, feed, filter, message factory. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually just go git add feed metadata for this, and we'll say git commit -m corrected metadata validation to allow for none as the Twitter handle. And then we have the test. We'll say git commit and updated metadata in other UTs. Right, so that was very simple to do. And now we will come over here and we can mark this one as complete, which is the last task that we have there. We now have the validation done for the metadata, as well as we always had the access to it actually, but now we have all the validations and the copying and everything of the tests is all done and complete. So we will be able to kind of access all that stuff. We'll now be able to access all this information. So if we were in the prototype, for example, we will be able to get it all throughout here and form the message factory. So we will probably play around with that next time after we. So let me actually commit that. Git commit and completed final task. Okay. Git log one line. So yeah. So next time, what we'll do is we will now that we've completed the final task here. Next time we'll merge everything in, we'll complete the message factory, and we'll start the controller, but probably like through the prototyping of things and kind of get some stuff working, and then we'll turn basically that prototype into the controller, into the tests in the controller, because we're going to do the test first and the controller. So very simple, straightforward to do. So let's tag this episode 40. And that is going to be all. So until next time, see ya.